Well, hello. Welcome to the Upsiders. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Los, joined by my good friend Bertram. Bertram, you want to introduce
Yeah.
yourself?
Hi, I'm Bertram.
Okay, cool. Nice to meet you. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. You're if you're listening to us on podcast, go ahead, follow or subscribe to us. YouTube, go ahead, subscribe, like it, tell your friends, family, loved ones, worst enemies about the Upsiders. We're your time traveler's guide to the present, which means what we do here is we highlight issues being tackled. We know about the issues, but how are they being addressed? How are they being solved? And so we focus on whether they're individuals, organizations, or just movements overall that are trying to make the world better than they found it. And so, yeah, a little bit of good news here with the Upsiders. Give you a little,
Mm.
yeah, a little respite, right? Give you a little break from what's
Ooh,
going on out
yeah.
there. We already have a word of the day, but that would have been it if respite.
Not anymore. Respite is our word of the day, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much for joining us, though. Bertram, I want to ask
Yeah.
you a question.
Yeah.
Growing up, did you grow up watching the news? And if so, what news did your family watch? Um,
Well,
what,
you're a young cat, so you
yeah,
probably don't know this, but we didn't have gigantic television screens on every wall in the house.
yeah,
When I was a kid back in the 1930s, we okay,
the
was the
radio.
1990s, but yeah, we would have the little tiny television in the little corner of the kitchen counter, so that while the old lady was cooking or doing dishes, or we were doing dishes, or we were eating dinner, we always had the news in the corner there. Had a bigger TV in the living room, but for some reason we all just decided we always watched television on a little tiny guy in the kitchen, and we would always have on the local Chicago news. And spoiler alert, Los, you told me you were going to ask that question, and then we started recording, and I've just been on a deep dive on this dude named Walter Jacobson. Have you heard about this guy?
No.
Why would you? He's your local newsman, right? Apparently, this dude was an investigative reporter for Chicago news for a very long time, and he was like the voice of my childhood. Is they would always be like, "Oh, we're doing an investigative report tonight on Walter Jacobson." You'd be sitting there eating your pot pie, like Jesus Christ, like what's it going to be about? What stuff is he hitting in the neighborhood? Because I was from like very northwest Indiana, like right on the border, so I was a Chicago news kid. And then you asked me to introduce my name, and I was just lost because apparently this newsman of my childhood, apparently if you look up his Wikipedia page, he's got a real temper. I guess like he throws stuff at his coworkers. He like I guess he's been sued a bunch of times. I guess he's dropped some f-bombs, and he just screams at people when he's from the anchor. So and now he's like 88 years old. So I just went back into my childhood, and I took a respite from today's terrible news and went back to Walter Jacobson. But do you have a local news, man? What were you Denver?
Yeah, Denver. I remember the faces, but not the names. But definitely,
Oh
yeah,
man.
it was nine news in Denver. Obviously ABC 7. There's quite a few of them, but we had one of them too. What was your ABC channel in or Chicago area? Chicagoland, I
Oh
should say. That's where Bertram's from, by the way.
yeah, ABC 7 WLS.
Oh,
WLS, that's
okay.
right.
Cool, cool. Maybe it's
ABC 7
ABC 7
Chicago.
in like all the big cities, but like if you're in like, I don't know, Abilene, Texas, it might be ABC 59 or but
Man, who
yeah.
who got who got who got seven in there? Like, the cooking channel? Like, that's what we got on.
But yeah, I have vivid memories of watching the news. Did I ever tell you about my heartbreak of not being on the news when I thought I was gonna be?
Oh my god. Please,
Oh,
please tell the story.
I was like 7 or 8 years old, I think. Maybe probably 7. And it was like a children's hospital, like hosting all these kids so they could just get their shots, which nowadays that would be controversial, right? A bunch of kids getting their their shots, whether that's tetanus or I
We
don't know what they were, but it was like a
we
thing.
just
And
went down
then
to 0 viewers, Los.
it was like a thing. And so the news was there, and like the main anchor lady, for I don't know how it happened, but we like bonded and we were just she was interviewing me and it was just like a good time. Like we spent extensive time like together. She'd go to the
So
different
the
rooms with
opposite of your David Stern story.
yeah. Yeah, those who've listened to my our previous podcast, they know I with the late David Stern, I had a kind of a rude encounter. Um, but yeah, it was the opposite. So like, oh
This is all.
yeah, like I think she even sat with me when I was getting like a caricature portrait taken, which I think my parents might still have. And
Oh
so
my god.
we were like, oh my goodness, we had a day. Like I remember I was like, and I hated getting shots back then. And um but I just remember I knew that was like a fun day. And so we all sat around waiting for Nine News to come on at night. And like they covered the events and like none of it made it. Like none of it. Like I don't even think like that lady, the anchor, like she even like made it. Like it was her piece, but
Yeah,
they didn't include any footage of her like
cut that kid out.
milling around. It just said yeah, they just said bump that guy, man. They bump that kid. And
Don't put that kid on there. They put other kids on there.
yeah, Michael Jordan, F them kids. Um, yeah, because it was a children's hospital like event. That's where it took
Yeah,
place. And so like, yeah, they just
he
I
thought you were
was
gonna be a star. You
I was
told
on the
everybody to watch.
I was on the cutting room floor, man. That was crazy. But yeah, I think her name was Amy something. I can't remember, but yeah, almost famous when I was young.
Oh man, and that's what I think about too. Is everybody who listens to this podcast knows that I'm a teacher, and I'm always trying to get the kids to do really cool real world projects that could get them on the news. And maybe that just goes back to our childhoods, Los, where it was like it was a dream to be on the local news. And
Mhm.
uh, I don't know if this is also part of your culture over there, but like, and anytime there was somebody on the news that you knew, like they were a celebrity the next day, right?
Oh,
Oh man, like
absolutely.
the lady down the street, her bake sale was covered on the news, and they had her talking about her lemon squares. And the next day, everybody be like, "Oh, you made it on the news! Look at your lemon squares!" Like, did you have a similar experience with that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You'd see some
This is all
people on
before
the
the internet, folks. Yeah,
yeah. You'd see people on the news
you're
and yeah.
yeah, your phone would be ringing off the hook the next day.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the reason why I asked that is because as you alluded to, that's not so commonplace. If I ask people
Yeah.
nowadays what news do they watch, they'll tell me maybe it's clips on Instagram or maybe they watch
Yeah.
one of the big cable news channels, whether that's CNN, MS Now, right? I think that's what it's called now instead of MSNBC. Um, and hey, I don't talk to that many people who watch that, but your Fox News might be a thing as well. So
Mm.
a lot of that has replaced local news, which raises issues
Yeah.
because there's there's stories, there's developments that we should all be aware of that are happening in our immediate area, which just isn't
Yeah.
covered by the national media. And
Well, and
there's a
to
community.
build off of what I was going to say about that too was I feel like the kids still know that the local news is a big deal because anytime I try and do projects with them, that I'm like, we got to go talk about your projects on the news. The times where those get featured, they do feel like the celebrities. Like going back to the story that you said, right? Is I for some reason it still exists. Even though those kids don't always watch the local news, though, so I just think that's odd how it works out that way.
Yeah. Yeah, because now there's a term we've talked about food deserts before, but there's also news deserts. So
Yeah,
news deserts speak to areas where, they lack local coverage. And a lot of that those channels and newspapers too have been consolidated by, bigger organizations, which we don't
Can
want
I
to
ask a
get into that.
question?
Yeah.
Is the definition of a news desert? So I think about like middle of nowhere Minnesota, right?
Mhm.
Where okay, maybe you're tagged into the Minneapolis news where you get Minneapolis news, but what news is represented in your hometown? Does it have to qualify? It's like, well, we don't have a television show for our town, but we
Mhm.
do have a newspaper. Or are we talking about news desert? These people don't even have a newspaper. There's no way they don't have a newspaper. They don't have a television show. They don't have a newsletter, right?
Yeah.
Like, is that what we're talking about, those? Because I think there's
Yeah.
probably a bunch of places that don't even have a newspaper anymore.
So it's interesting. News desert mainly applies to uh, areas without newspapers. But it goes hand in hand with TV coverage as well, because I'll get into that in a moment. But yeah, news deserts, the official definition is a community that is no longer covered by daily or non daily newspapers. Recent data suggests
Mm,
that uh, there's around 50 million Americans who live in areas with limited or no local news coverage. For reference, what last U.S. population was, what are we at? Close to 340 million? 342
yeah,
million.
342. Very, very good, Lowe's. Wow. Well done.
So
That's a lot of us, man.
yeah, thanks, Jamie, for pulling up those numbers. But yeah, so 50 million out of 342 million is substantial. That's a lot of people who don't know what's going on. And then the tricky thing
Yeah.
with
Wow.
TV is I think you'll have more of that. I don't have the numbers behind that, but you'll have more TV channels. But what happens is I mentioned consolidation is now you're having these Sinclair Media, I believe that's what it's called. And there's another group who are just purchasing all these little smaller TV channels. So they're running the same programming. So you're going to see the same news stories covered outside of, weather and probably local crime or something like that. Um, Rather than these hyper local stories that we were used to growing up, like the children's hospital thing, right? Hey, F them because they didn't feature me. But like, how often is that being covered in some of these areas? If you're in, I don't
Yeah.
know,
I
Billings,
know.
Montana, or uh, Topeka, Kansas. Let me stop using capitals, but um, what was it? There was a city or a town in Kansas that really charmed you a few years ago. What was it? What was it called?
Emporia,
Emporia.
Kansas.
Emporia, Kansas. How many stories are you getting around that? So you're getting these like
None.
recycled stories from local news that just don't have the added context around things that are going on in your community. And so that's where we find ourselves. So here on the upside, there's again focus on the solutions, but that's the problem that we're facing, our news deserts. So you spoke about the kids. So one thing the kids are doing are they're addressing this and
Yeah.
leading with their own journalism. And that's what we're covering today. And one of those very roundabout, it's like one of those shows that they have the long intros. Maybe it's a cold, what was it? Was it cold something?
Cold open?
Cold open. Why am I not thinking about that? Former,
Oh, no.
we're writers. Jesus. Cold open. Yeah. So now the feature presentation is student-led journalism. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, Bertram.
Man, please.
Yeah. Okay. So did I told you, well, I have told you, but I'm asking rhetorically, because this is the show. I told you that in high school I was involved in the school news. Back in the day, I was an
Absolutely.
anchor. Yeah,
Man, what
yeah.
was the name of it?
Spartan News, because that,
Oh,
that was our
okay.
thing.
What
Yeah.
was that
So
like? And how big did it get? Like what sort of things, how often were you running? What sort of features did you have? You have a newspaper, you have a show, like how
yeah.
how much work did you have to put into that per week?
So it was a daily show. So every day, I think fourth period,
Mm,
second, third, I don't know. Fourth period, I'm just
that's
gonna make
impressive.
that up. Yeah, yeah. maybe, yeah, I think maybe Fridays we didn't have it, but yeah, it was basically every day. So probably I came up in high school. It was a very heralded media program that we had. Um it was called,
You want to
yeah.
shout anybody out?
Well, yeah, so I do want to shout someone out.
Mr. Gunther, or
Mr.
what? You know, like the guy who ran it all, who was
Spampanato.
tearing his hair out, having
Mr.
to work with all you kids.
Spampanato,
Oh,
who
okay.
I heard recently passed, so RIP. A
All
Spamp,
right.
that's what we would call him for short. Um, Spamp and yeah, Mr. Coleman was another one. But yeah, Spamp was leading the pack. So we'd have these. Our media class was like 2 periods long, I believe. So like we just spend it just going through stories that either were going on in the school, and then we maybe cover some stuff going on locally. And that could range from announcements to, you name it. So yeah, every day it started off with getting the stories, putting the script together, and then we're filming the actual presentation. And so it would take, I don't know, a period or two to put that together. And yeah, and then it would air for everyone. And yeah, that raised my popularity levels quite a bit too, because everyone
Oh
knew,
yeah, you
hey,
said you were the big
it's
man on campus.
Los from the news. Yeah. They'd see my face. But yeah, it was a cool
Man.
experience having like a little like a newsroom um in school. And I wasn't on the newspaper, which would have been cool, but yeah, I happened to do the TV news.
Man, and that's what we're all getting at now with the students, right? As I run our CTE audiovisual program at my school, and CTE career technical education, and so the state of Indiana is really big on giving kids work-based learning and tracking hours and internships. And if you've listened to this podcast before, I talk about it all the time because that's sort of what I've been spend a lot of time meeting with people talking about is how do we make sure that these students are getting all that application, because one thing that you've learned by watching this show and maybe Mad World and maybe Boots of Basketball is Los is a brilliant human being, right? He really is.
I'm not though.
He represents the best of us in this world, right? He's up there with Einstein and Isaac Newton and all these
That's
minds. He just asks the right questions, I guess. What?
misinformation we're speaking right
Yeah.
now.
And I think a lot of that is to, not only does Los have an extreme amount of knowledge and he watches a lot of things and he reads a lot of stuff, but he has a lot of practical application of those things. He's always up to something. He's always doing something. He's engaged in applying what he knows, whether it's cinema and making movies. We once co-directed a movie together. It's turned out really good. He did the news show. He's always applying what he learned, and so we try and do that a lot with these kids and try and get them to um, be involved. Los and I have talked about the third space and how people need to be involved in their communities and they need to find other places that they belong. And I think being able to do media and just go out and find those things is super helpful to these kids. I do a podcast with them called the Genius Hour Voices of Indianapolis. If anybody wants to go check it out. And I used to do everything. I used to teach them how to research. I used to we would bring on a guest from the community and I would interview them, and then they would also get a chance to ask questions, and then I would edit. And very quickly I stopped having to come up with the questions because the kids had all the questions. And then I stopped editing because the kids started editing. And then I stopped being the guest host because they started doing a great job hosting. And now, Los, I don't do anything. I have nothing to do outside. And I guess the last thing I did was book the guests, and now they do that too. And
Wow.
they know how to do their research. And I think that's one of the best things that we can be doing with students. So student newspapers, journalism, getting them to ask questions, and man, most importantly, getting them out of the classroom and into the community so that they functionally understand who lives in their community. Because you and I talk about this all the time, especially with the digital world, is people don't know their neighbors as much as they used to, and they don't know, a lot of students are like, oh man, I want to meet somebody all the way across the world. It's like, well, you haven't met any of the people in your neighborhood yet.
Yeah.
And so I like this idea that students are starting to become the sentinels of local journalism and democracy, and they're protecting it. So I'd like to rewrite this idea for our episode that students are the journalistic sentinels, the
Ooh.
sentinels of democracy, Los.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Take that,
So,
Washington
man, who
Post.
knew that the stuff that you were doing, and maybe you don't realize how important it was back in the day, but you're still a big deal because of that show.
Yeah. Well, I'm not, yeah, I don't know. Fallen giant over here. But yeah, no, that was fun. And to your point, it starts young, right? So we had yeah, the media program, and I just looked it up here to see if it's still around. Um, and it's officially called now. It's called the Center for Communication Technology Magnet, and it's a 4-year program focusing on
Yep.
technology, engineering, and media. Um,
You were a
uh,
pioneer, man, because now it's
my
a big
alma
deal
mater.
because of the work that you guys
Yeah,
did.
yeah, man. Um, but yeah, yeah, and I think starting them in high school and then hopefully they take that into universities. And so because then you have more resources, right? There's infrastructure, like formalized programs that are there, institutions that they could participate in and grow and actually, maybe find a space there. And so we have examples of that with interesting university that you highlighted here, which is that University of Vermont?
Yeah. They started, I think it was the University of Vermont that got it going, and now I believe it's branched out bigger than that. So it's my heroes of the upside this week is the Center for Community News, the CCN. There's a really good article from Fitchburg State about how universities tackled the local news crisis. You had mentioned that the word of the week is news desert, or I think you didn't say it was the word of the week. You talked about this problem of news deserts similar to food deserts. Our word of the week is not news desert, but it's news oasis,
Ooh.
which surprisingly is a good term. Whereas news desert means they're completely devoid of their newspapers. It's a news oasis has reversed that trend, and now they established at least one sustainable, often non-traditional source of local information. And so the CCN has been doing that. There was an annual benchmark study that reveals significant growth in university-led reporting programs in 2025. Among more than 200 news academic programs across the country, 48 new ones have been initiated since the data was last collected in 2024. The dude who was the CCN director of this, so he got a lot of this started, was one of the professors, I think, named Richard Watts, and he said that colleges of every size are stepping up to help fill critical information gaps in their communities, and the students are getting invaluable hands-on experience in the process. And so, news academic reporting programs have emerged as a viable solution to face this crisis of no local news. And the CCN is a nonpartisan organization. It started in July of 2022, and it was built to grow and strengthen university-led reporting programs across the U.S. Does a lot of really great stuff. So now they've partnered. Did I already say? Man, they just keep getting bigger and bigger. And if you go to their website, they continue to gain on all these new partners to get some university led reporting programs going. So I think that's the upside, man. For colleges are banding together to start these programs and offer one program that can aid news oasis and oasis.
And for those who aren't aware, an oasis is officially defined as a fertile green spot in a desert created by underground
Yeah.
water sources like springs or aquifers. Love that term, by the way, aquifers,
Mm.
reaching the surface. So in this case, those springs, those underwater springs or water sources, these aquifers are the students, delivering, ooh, quenching the thirst
Ooh, I
within these
like that.
deserts. Yeah. So sentinels and aquifers, huh? Uh,
Oh my goodness. Those are our new two words of the week.
so let's see here. So you have other examples.
Well, since you said Oasis, should we talk about Project Oasis?
Let's do it.
So Project Oasis it's a very large directory of independent digital media, and they if you oh man do you want to pull this one up, Lowe's? I thought it was
Cool.
pretty cool.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so
Uh,
what it is it's a map of independent digital media around the world. They collect all these different independent organizations, creators, publishers, in more than 65 countries. And so, if you're curious about how do I find some of this local media, go ahead and click on, I think it's Media Directory. Go to Explore Media Directory, and that's Project Oasis, and you can go see all sorts of different pieces here. Like the Texas Tribune is the only member supported digital first nonpartisan media organization that informs Texans. That's the Texans Tribune. Okay.
Look at
Did you
this.
get it? Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
Cool.
look at that.
Yeah, if you want to click around, maybe we try and go to a news site, anything like that. Some of the stuff that you see. It says that 60% of them are for profit, 30% are nonprofit, 3% hybrid, 6% not yet registered. So if you're wondering about the breakdown of some of these,
Yeah.
and the goal, Project Oasis is very clear that they do not charge media for their inclusion in these directories, and being included does not imply that they have participated in any of Project Oasis's programs or received funds from partners. It just means that these media meet the criteria for journalistic independence and transparency. So some good stuff here.
Yeah. I like this. Gotta explore it. Yeah, look at all these.
Yeah, how do we get on here, Los?
How do we get on here? Oh, how
Yeah,
do us,
we
as in oh the upsiders? Yeah, we gotta talk to some people. Get our get our reps involved here. But
Yeah,
yeah,
if somebody wants to volunteer, be like, I like your podcast. I'll take this on. We want to be an independent media
yeah,
source.
yeah. Let's put us in there. We need some credibility here. But cool. Shout outs to
Good stuff,
Oasis.
man.
Not the band, by the way.
Yeah, and you know what? That was when I was looking up my research on. Let me find some more stuff on Project Oasis. They were like, "You mean the band?" It's like, no. Why is everything the band? So I had to refine my search multiple times to exclude the Gallaghers.
Have you heard of Waterwall?
Yeah, Wonderwall.
Wonderwall. There we go. Um, cool. And then you also found something on what is Potter Digital Ambassadors. Who are they?
Yeah, it's just another group of smaller states and community news organizations banding together to see how do we engage audiences and improve like digital strategies. And specifically, we focus a lot on this podcast about long-term things, sustainable things. So this was put out by the Missouri School of Journalism. Uh, is expanded to encompass 4 additional states through partnerships and universities and press or broadcast associations in Iowa, Kansas, Tennessee, and Vermont. With the help of additional training for ambassadors, outlets in each of these states receive resources, guidance, and other innovative work from journalism students catered to their needs. And students are teaching people in their communities how to provide, journalistic needs, and I think that's a really cool program too. Is so these sentinels, these students are out here trying to affect change in their community and build a journalism ecosystem, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, like check out this testimony here. So Jenna and Braden transform me from someone with zero social media knowledge into someone capable of producing, posting, tracking, and analyzing content.
Yeah, absolutely.
That gets to something else here, especially the youth,
Oh,
right?
please.
they're aware of what works from a consumption and a delivery standpoint. So what we saw traditionally on news, right, is hey, turning on that TV on basic cable to the channel where they're hosting the news. Now it's probably on TikTok, right? Doing some short form video while delivering
Yeah.
some hard hitting pieces, um, or Instagram reels or YouTube shorts, whatever the case may be. And yeah, it's just interesting to see what that will look like going forward as these programs expand and these students branch off on their own. And hopefully, what I'd like to see too is like some startups of local news, right? So
Ooh. Yeah.
the thing that we run into, and I'm not saying it's an issue per se, but these students, if they're great, they might end up going to some of the big guns, right? They might go
Yeah.
to a large paper in a large city, or they may go to your CNNs, your New York Times, or Wall Street Journals, right? Hopefully, we have someone brave enough to say, "Hey, we're gonna start one of these." Like channel, what's
Yeah.
the Channel 5 guy's name? Um, on YouTube, Andrew Callahan. You ever see some of his pieces?
I don't think so. Maybe.
Oh
Oh
man,
yeah. Okay, I have.
yeah, he did like the Hunter Biden interview and stuff like that. But
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah, I want to see some like local versions of Andrew
Oh,
Callahan.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
There is another link I have in the show notes that you don't have to pull up or anything, but it's talking about how do you spread this out. Berkeley is also trying to build some stuff out in California.
Mhm.
Specifically, they are offering California local news fellowships, and those have been taking hold. So they're early career digital, print, video, audio, photo, and multimedia journalists for the California Local News Fellowship. And the fellowships get a full time salary and benefits from the University of California for 2 years and receive intensive mentoring, training, and support from experienced journalism leaders. Oh, dang. What does this say? A starting salary of 60,000 or 65,000. Those
Nice.
sign up for this.
Okay, let me do
Video
it.
fellows will not be assigned to a local news outlet, but will work as part of a small production team. The position is full time with a starting salary of 80,000.
Whoa. Wowzers. Okay, where do I
Hey,
apply again?
yeah, man, that seems to be pretty intense.
Let's get in there.
Yeah, man. So there you go. Hey, the local news is paying, Los.
I think so. Yeah, it pays to
We don't
it
have to
pays
just rely on TikTok.
it pays to be local. How about that?
Oh, come on,
Come on, I'm on
man! You're a
fire,
brilliant
man.
man.
I'm on fire. Um, but Bertram, I think it's you know what I feel like doing right now?
What?
Playing our favorite game.
Okay,
And what
what's
game is
this
that?
game, Los? Well, it's reality check, myth or reality, where I give Los kind of a minute. I put a minute on the board and I just let him go. If it takes 5 minutes, whatever. So I ask him 3 questions. He has to decide whether they are real or myth.
Oh, shoot.
Are you ready, Los?
I'm ready.
Okay, 60 seconds. 60 seconds on the clock. Claim one: student journalism is just a learning exercise and lacks the weight of professional reporting.
Nonsense, misinformation, fake news. Absolute student journalism is the real thing. Because again, as we want to provide coverage on hyper local issues, right? As professional tends to focus more broadly or uh, nationally, or maybe recycled stories that might not vary from county or state to state. Students could focus on what's going on the ground. So yeah, that's
Mm.
that's that's what I'm talking about there.
Great. Number two, claim social media and citizen journalists on TikTok have replaced the need for traditional local reporting.
No, because well, and especially in my view, they could they don't have to be mutually exclusive, right? So you could
Mm.
incorporate local news into social media as a way to heighten and increase the consumption of local news, um,
Yeah.
meeting the audience where they
Current.
are, basically.
Uh, we'll come back to that one because there's something I want to mention. But claim three: local journalism can be built through strong work-based learning programs in high schools.
Oh, fact, reality. Is that what I'm supposed to say? Reality? Yes,
Yep,
absolutely.
you got it. That's fine.
Yeah. Programs are, yeah, we need more programs in general in high school. And I think journalism is a great place um, to start and a good example of what we could um, have there. Yeah. And the arts. Can't forget about the arts. But yes, journalism.
Oh yeah, you won again. Uh, one thing that I thought was really cool when about the second question about this idea of TikTok just replaces your need for local news, and one of the things that they talk about that TikTok is not doing a good job of doing is if you have local journalism and you have it presented in a more long form way, it doesn't always have to be just short form clips. The short form clips lack the fact based resilience.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's interesting. This importance of, hey, you have to get it right. You have to have journalistic integrity. And what TikTok and a lot of these short videos do is they just push those quick hits, and that's really hard to
Yeah.
have some sort of journalistic accountability. So fact based resilience is a really important thing that we need to teach kids. I don't think there's anybody out there who disagrees with the idea that we need to teach kids how to make sure they have the resilience to get things right and not just immediately jump to conclusions. That's something we could be doing in schools and doing a really great job. And I think the work that Los did, the newsrooms, all that stuff, that's very good for our youngsters, and that we need to be doing that in schools.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I can't even add anything there.
Aren't you
But
proud of yourself, man? Like, look, and why did you get into that? What made you want to join it? Did you do it to get chicks or something? Like, what made you want to do
well, in
that?
high school, everything's for that. But no,
Yeah.
I think the idea of technology and media at that time, which is super interesting, right? So because as part of that program, we also we learned how to like build websites in our freshman year. So we learned about HTML and CSS and how that works and publishing on a website. That's when I learned Adobe InDesign was freshman year of high school. And then second
Mm,
year, we focused on photography. So that's where I got introduced to Photoshop and yeah, just getting rule of thirds right and all of that. And then as you got
man.
into junior year, that's where it started talking about covering stories, creating your own stories. Um, and then senior year, you got to participate in putting together the news. But
Yeah.
great program, brilliant program, and I'm glad it still exists and it's evolved now. But yeah, it's just hey, I can't take any credit. I was just a participant,
Wow.
but I am an advocate for that showing up in more places and thus properly funding those programs and supporting them. Because yeah, local news is very important. And yeah, I even see in some of the notes here of examples that you highlighted on some local developments that aren't heavily covered are city council meetings or, you
Yeah.
know, monitoring law enforcement use of force. We usually don't find out about that stuff until there's a tragedy, right? The police shoot someone or
Yeah.
strangle someone, but there's you want to track the pattern and some of these smaller instances first to because that's really what the media is for, right? Journalism is to keep those accountable, those involved in accountable. Uh, in addition to keeping us well informed, it's about yeah being
Yeah.
sort of
I think about
adversarial with those in power so you could keep them in check.
I think about what George W. Bush said about the media all the time now because George W. Bush was asked, "Did you resent the media for how hard they came at you during your presidency?" He said, "Not at all. I appreciated the media because I knew that they were there, and I knew that they were. I felt comfortable knowing that if I mess up, they're going to come after me, which made me not want to mess up. It made me make sure that we were sharp and we were doing everything, and not just letting stuff go by." And I think about that with this show, right? Is I think about the people who hate us and the people in the comment sections who are like, "Oh man, I'm going to say something real mean about you," and I'm like, "Well, I better make sure that I do my due diligence." So we're very appreciative of the people who are going to investigate us.
Yeah, feel free. And that's why it's part of this show. In case you didn't know, if this is your first time, go ahead. If you're listening, check out the show notes. If you're watching, check the description. That's where we post all of our sources and links to articles,
Yeah.
websites. Yeah,
Nobody's torn apart our show notes yet, and the day that, which is why I don't know how much of a how much we push ourselves, like, right, unless somebody comes in, they go, I looked at your show notes and like I don't like that link that was wrong over there, and they're like, oh dang, they're going to force our show notes to get better, so we got to make sure that we have some real journalistic integrity on these show notes. But spoiler alert, we're already pretty dang good at making show notes, though, so ain't too much better than we need to be. We're pretty good.
that's right. But yeah, this was fun. I love the kids, right? I love students. So I'm glad we were able to elevate some of the great work that are being done across the country. That country is the United States, by the way. That's where we live for now. But no. uh,
Paraguay's looking real good.
oh, no. But Bertram, any final thoughts before we part?
Just the kids, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Like, y'all are, if you are a member of a news team at your school, you're doing a really great job.
Yeah.
And if you're with me doing some podcasts and interviewing people, and you retired my old self, you're doing a great job too. And I'm real proud of you all.
Yes, that's a great place to end. So thank you so much. Thanks for listening. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't to. Now that we've reached the end, go ahead, click that like button. Give us a rating if you're listening to us on podcasts. And again, spread the word. So when we're coming up with another one here. But on behalf of Bertram, I'm Los, and we look forward to seeing you not just on the other side, but the upside.